1,000 time counters for a game win? Would you make that deal? I'd make that deal. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Mac has asked us to try to win games of Magic with the Millennium Calendar. Here we go. So, whenever you untap one or more permanents during your untap step, you put that many time counters on the Millennium Calendar. For 2 mana, you can double the number of time counters on the Millennium Calendar, and if you get to 1,000 or more time counters on it, you get to sacrifice it, and each opponent loses 1,000 life. Now, this is not the first card that looks like this. Throughout Magic's history, there have been a handful of these, sexy, alternative, funky win condition cards. And most of them tend to be at the fringes of competitive playability, if they even make it that far. So the question we have to ask going into this is, how competitive is this actually going to be? And we're going to do some careful reading here. Whenever you untap one or more permanents during your untap step. So for those of you who immediately went to, well, why don't we just go infinite with Paradox Engine, loop 2 things that can untap each other and just win? They thought of that. They're too smart. They got us. And this thing is also a legendary artifact, so it's not like we could play 2 of them and then find a way to move the time counters from one to the other. So the way that we are going to win with the Millennium Calendar is actually going and doubling the number of counters on it a handful of times. Now, we can cheat this a little bit by untapping the Millennium Calendar and then paying for the activated abilities multiple times within a turn cycle. Cards like Voltaic Key and Manifold exist that can do that, but this still does just require 2 mana. So ultimately, what this probably means is that the Millennium Calendar is a win condition in the deck rather than a card that you jam 4 of and go, this is the way that I am going to win every single game of Magic that I'm going to play. Because this card has a unique effect, and if you start popping off, you can probably win with it pretty quickly. But especially by legacy standards where removal is so good and things like, Prismatic Ending, Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay, Teferi, Boseiju exist, building a deck entirely around this card probably doesn't work. So what we're going to do is slot this into kind of a blue, Karn Ring deck list that already wants to play cards like Voltaic Key and Manifold Key, because they work so well with the Grim Monolith type cards. Now, this version's a little bit spicy, folks, because traditionally this deck is colorless or very, very close to it, and instead, this version of the deck has a large number of blue cards, primarily so that you can play Paradoxical Outcome as a relatively absurd draw engine. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm unsure that the blue cards are better than just playing Mystic Forge. Mystic Forge is a really good Magic the Gathering card, and I don't innately think this deck is going to be bad because it offers a different set of strengths. The ability to interact with your opponent instead of just core trying to race them is pretty reasonable. But you can't necessarily think of Brazen Borrower as an out to things like Collector Oof or Null Rod that might give you trouble. Because if you look at the mana base, there is a basic island as a blue source that lets you cast Brazen Borrower through those cards. So that still kind of feels like a problem. I guess you get Force of Will to answer it on the way down, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're gonna be tapping, untapping some things like the One Ring, trying to do some combo nonsense, and we have two silly win conditions here. We also have Aetherflux Reservoir to shoot a 50 damage laser at the opponent. Now, that might not always be enough, which is why we have the Millennium Calendar to do 1,000 damage. So we should have most life totals covered. Most of the sideboard here is a Karn the Great Creator package. I've been pretty vocal about my dislike for the card Karn the Great Creator in Legacy. I just don't really think you have the time to play that card in a lot of games of Magic, even with things like Ancient Tomb. I'm just noticing that we don't have Ensnaring Bridge in this sideboard here. Wild. I guess we're drawing a lot of cards with the One Ring if things are going well. You know what? I take it back. Maybe that's fine. But it does give us access to a second copy of Millennium Calendar. So like we can access Millennium Calendar with Karn and with Urza Saga as a tutor bullet. So a tutorable slow, but a tutorable win condition is hopefully something that is good. I think I'm out of wise words to say here. So if you end up wanting to try this one out, the link to moxfield.com with this deck list is in the video description. And if you need to buy any of these cards for Paper Magic, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. Let's battle. Okay, so what am I looking at? Turn 1, City of Traders, Grim Monolith. Turn 2, have 5-ish mana, maybe 6. I can like do this, play Karn turn 2, get Liquid Metal Coating, have Force of Will backup for that. That's reasonable. Again, I'm not the biggest Karn stan, but I don't think I throw this back. Here we go. Also, like, Paradox Engine is also just a thing that I can potentially do. Do I have a key in my board? I do have a key in my board. I think I have to Force of Will a turn 1 threat from my opponent, though. Because the Karn play is just so much worse. If my opponent like has a turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler or something that is just on board. My opponent went into the tank for a long time before making their first plays of the game. Ponder? Yeah, sure. Feels weird to commit to the Ancient Tomb prior to the Ponder? Sure. Well, this Karn feels pretty damn good. That land is also nice. We're presumably playing against Show and Tell or something of that ilk, just by the way. I believe I do not commit to using Grim Monolith when I cast this Karn. It's in play. So let's minus. We don't have an Ensnaring Bridge to get. I believe we are still just going to go ahead and go for the coding with the intention of destroying my opponent's lands. In this first turn cycle, this is just going to act as a Rishadan port and deny my opponent mana. Go on. Cycle Lorien revealed. You got it. Revealing a volcanic island, kind of cementing my general idea that my opponent is on Show and Tell, or rather Sneak and Show. And now we get to start blowing up my opponent's lands while otherwise progressing my game. We'll be taking out the Ancient Tomb here, as the raw amount of mana is the most important thing to deny here, rather than the specific color. We just need to keep my opponent off of 3 for a Show and Tell. Oh? Well, now I'm a little more confused. Sure. I guess I attack white. White blows up things? White exiles things? Uh-huh. I think I pass priority. Don't want to get got by like a Samwise or some shit. Blow up that plains. This seems fine to just throw into play. Spell Pierce? Do I care? Doesn't feel like I care. Like, it's cool, but I think these Force of Wills just protect anything that is actually going to win the game or stop this soft lock on my opponent. I am very unsure what the hell they're doing over there. All right, they've made another land drop. We will continue on land destruction plan until morale improves. Sure. We're floating mana. Again, I'm just going to change phases. Don't want to get got by weird things like Stifle Samwise. Like, I just legitimately don't know what I am playing around right now. We'll just pass the turn there. I don't know if my opponent is supposed to continue to play this game of Magic. Like, I have no idea what their deck is or how to sideboard as of right now. And they had the opportunity to concede while I am on the lowest amount of possible information. And instead, I'm just getting to see more and more of their deck. Yeah. Then second main phase, once the mana empties, continue to blow up some lands here. I don't know if I'm supposed to start killing my opponent, because like right now I just have double Force of Will backing this bullshit. And I feel pretty good about that. I could do something like an end of turn PO or end of turn Brazen Borrower. I don't really feel like I need to do that. Yeah, it's just way better. Yeah, float your mana. I'll change phases. Then I'll blow up your land. Tap 1 mana for an Emry. And Emry getting back some of the stuff that's currently in Graveyard can be my way of just shifting this game into overdrive. Sure. Alright. There's a Bauble. Don't mind that at all. We'll do this whole song and dance again. Alright, they've given up on floating the mana. That's fine. Let's cast this. Start looking at more cards in your deck. A Scalding Tarn. And go ahead and attempt this whole Paradox Engine thing. Okay, my opponent is now done with me. I'm still confused about what they're doing. So it looks like they're Jeskai. It looks like there's combo vibes. But I've also seen like Lorien revealed, which means that my opponent isn't going as turbo as possible. Like, is this just a 4th Eorlinga's control deck list that is playing Ancient Tomb and Lotus Petal to power those out faster? Do I just have a bad read on this situation? I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Could also be Hull Breacher, like Days Undoing combo? Feels reasonable. Just hedge against combo and just a random 4th Eorlingas. Sure, this is fine. I am comfortable playing an Urza Saga beat you down game plan backed by a Force of Negation. I feel like I have the general swath of decks that my opponent is on figured out, but I sure don't have specifics. And that may be because this is just some brew that this player is on. Emry. Not good immediately. Maybe fine long term. I don't think my opponent's gonna have Wasteland, but again, could be wrong. Sure. Is this the 4th Eorlingas? Do I have the read? Oh shit, okay. Well, that sure doesn't get Force of Negation. Okay. Yeah, that's not where I thought we were going. Okay. So my Ancient Tomb's a bit of a liability. My Force of Negation X4 is maybe not where I want to be. And I, in fact, will probably use them, like, overly aggressively here. Like, I will snap a Force of Negation off on, like, a fucking Ponder right now. Because I think I just need to do anything possible to slow down my opponent. I'm probably on about a 3-turn clock. Okay. So, I was right on that read. The initiative stuff was just not expected. So we're taking 5 or 6. We're taking 6. Opponent has a swords now. Alright, I'm at 14. Sorry if there end up being any weird cuts in this segment. Got a little gunk in my throat this morning. Might take a hot shower before the next round or something. So I'm going to play towards the timeline where I win this game. We are going to get a Mox Opal here. 4 mana. Play the 1 ring out. Hope it resolves. Yeah, Force of Negation sure doesn't defend on my own turn. Womp, womp. Okay, that was bad. I gave up Urza Saga construct value in order to attempt that. Let's see. So I get attacked for 6, and then my opponent goes to trap, and I am dead since that did not work. So I should not show them a basic land if I already haven't showed them. Playing Emry doesn't change anything. Dead. Good on the opponent for not Force of Willing my Force of Negation. So I know what's up. I know it was really awkward that I drew 3 copies of Force of Negation that game, but I'm still probably supposed to keep them because 4th Aerlingas is such a beating, and I'm not that great at actually taking the initiative in combat. I do miss that hypothetical ensnaring bridge that I talked about. I think I'm keeping things as is, though. No. Alright. Seat, Opal, control 2 artifacts, play 1 mana Emry, with Force of Negation backup. Emry presumably hits something that allows me to continue playing a game of Magic to bridge me towards the 1 ring. This is fine. It's a little awkward if my opponent snaps off a Force of Will on this, since Force of Negation doesn't protect on my own turn. Alright, cool. Emry hit play. Manifold Key and another Mox Opal. Decisive, My opponent has like Swords of Plowshares type stuff in their deck. I think my hand's bad enough that if my opponent likes swords or lightning bolts, that I have to do this. Like, this card is just very central to everything that my hand has going for it. Fuck. Okay, we're dead. It'll take a few turns for us to lose, but I do not expect to win from here. Yep. Thank you, deck. So if my opponent just like plays 4th Aerlingas here, I just die. Oh, or that, yeah. I'll take a draw, but I'm just not going to beat that unchecked on an empty board. Yeah. All right. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. Okay, my hand's a keep. I'm going to have to figure out exactly how I want to play it based on my opponent's first turn cycle or so. They're mulliganing to Oblivion, which is scary. Are we reanimating? No. This is probably fine for me. Red. Fable's fine. That could have been a lot worse, honestly. I'm gonna poop a turn 1 Karn. Like, Ancient Tomb, Monolith, Lotus Petal, Karn. Karn plussing on Chrome Mox is fine. It shuts off the treasures that my opponent makes, probably keeps him off of playing further spells in the short term. And then I can just, like, Brazen Borrower that token at some point. Or play the 1 ring. I could play the 1 ring on turn 1. And that's, like, fine too. But I think I like the Karn. It just punishes a deep mulligan very hard. So, like, my opponent's got 2 cards. They presumably need to find a land now. Or I guess Fury plus red card could be good. But, like, a lot of times now this City of Traders just disappears. Yeah, that is A-okay with me. Like, that's not a card. I can just Karn plus on that, or leave it there. Take a quick look at my sideboard. Okay. So let's go land drop. I think I will still plus and get rid of the chalice. Like, it's not a card right now. It doesn't do anything right now. But it might do something in the not too distant future. I don't think it's crazy to just attack treasures either, because, like, the Karn is eventually going away. Oh, that's going at me instead of Karn. Sure. I am fine with this. Ooh. Do I have an artifact that I want to tutor for this turn? Because if I tutor for an artifact, my construct just gets bigger. Like, I can tutor, and also tutor for Pithing Needle on reflection of Kiki Jiki. This turn's, like, surprisingly hard. I want my token to be a 3/3, but I also kind of want to leave up Brazen Borrower. Can't really have my cake and eat it too and do everything that I possibly want. Let's minus. Yes. Get Voltaic Key. Cast it. Untap Grim Monolith. I have to do this at sorcery speed. But then I can petty theft this token out of play while having Force of Will backup for the next thing my opponent plays and creating a 3/3 token. That feels pretty good. Fury. I think I have to no-sir that one. Like, my opponent can copy it as well. So, Fury, pitch Emry there. And my opponent is done with me. Understandably so. So, I technically don't know whether my opponent is mono-red or red-white as of right now. Based on what I've seen, it can go either way. The Lilia makes it slightly more likely that it's mono-red, but it's not clear-cut. My Flusterstorm's not going to be particularly good. I'm not, like, super excited by Paradoxical Outcome in this deck, I think, just kind of based on how my first couple of rounds have gone. Or this is round 2. I kind of like going down on these and going up on Force of Negation effects. Kind of want to board out the Pithing Needle and just naturally play one more key. It means I can't needle Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, though, if I do that. Maybe let's bring in the Haywire Might instead. Sure. So this can Force of Will my opponent's first play, but then I don't do anything after that. I am not a fan. I think I accept that on 6. Doesn't feel good. Alright. This feels like Chalice on 1. Negative. It's a Spirit Guide. Magus. Sure. That's, like, surprisingly not that big of a deal for me. I say as I draw Urza Saga. Blah. So I am going to go ahead and play out these artifacts in case something like Trinisphere were to come down. That would just be disastrous. The 2 points of damage here is not a big deal. Lol, 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 lol. We're not going to show my opponent that yet, I don't think. Mox Opal is not currently on. I don't know if my opponent's hand was a keep. Like, turn 1 Magus of the Moon with no other follow-up play is just not Legacy standard. Like, something I say a lot is, like, Lock Piece with no follow-up is not a keep when playing those decks on 7. Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower on Chrome Mox is, like, surprisingly good right now. But I think I am just going to get this party started and I'll plan on doing that next turn. Seat's good. Yeah, that's fine. Opponent has no reason to attack because of this. And then they pass their turn. New Mox Opal. Not the greatest. Force of Will, not the best. Voltaic Key for the One Ring, solid. Let's go ahead and play this. Thank you for putting that on 0 instead of 1. I do ever so appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and draw some more cards. Ooh, a Haywire Might. I'm just going to play that and nuke Chromebox. Oh, okay, my opponent is just done with me. Yeah. One way or another, my opponent loses their Chromebox, and the One Ring is going to bury my opponent, and I can like eventually bounce Magus of the Moon and then counter it if I need to. Hey, you, significant other of the person watching this video. I'm talking to you. Looking for a nice holiday gift for the person watching this video? What about a nice ThrabenU t-shirt that has this awesome logo on it? I've got a link down in every video description to my bonfire, which sells those, and they might make a fun little holiday surprise. I mean, it might be less of a surprise now because I just made this bit. You know what? It'll still be cool. My opponent has taken a mulligan. My hand doesn't really do anything. I don't have enough mana to start activating Urza Sagas without losing another Urza Saga. I think I'm just going to ship this one. One gets a note from me. We're going to 5. 5 is easily the best hand so far. It's a keep. I probably keep both keys and plan on doing One Ring nonsense as my primary plan. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Wasteland's really good against my current hand. All right, Emry's a good draw if I don't get wastelanded in the first turn cycle, which is just the thing that I am terrified of right now. Fuck. Oh my god, are you not wastelanding me? Holy shit. We're all right, folks. We're all right. Okay, so why isn't my opponent wastelanding me? Hardcast Days, saving it specifically for Urza Saga. I don't think I'm supposed to jam the One Ring into Days here. I think I am going to play a spell Pierceable Lotus Petal. Doesn't go anywhere. Now, we're going to fire off an Emry. All right, it hit play, which is nice. Hitting a Mishra's Bauble, which is relevant. And we're going to untap my seat and just represent blue mana. Are you seeking the beast? You are seeking the beast. Sure. Murktide, which probably isn't happening, and Dragon Rage Channeler. As expected. And we're still not getting wastelanded, which is cool. So I can crack Lotus Petal, play a One Ring around Days. I think that's better than drawing a random card off of Bauble. So redeploy and try to play the ring. Force of Will says no. We can try again next turn, either from graveyard or from play. My opponent might snap off the Wasteland to keep me from doing that. Or kill the Emry, sure. Some lands surveilled into the graveyard, sure. Alright, so the Wasteland has finally happened. 1, 2, 3, we're not to the One Ring yet. I'll just hold the Mox Opal for a turn. The second these are 3/3s, I'm in trouble though. And that's happening this turn with this sorcery, or that creature hitting the graveyard. Wasteland is currently the scariest card for my opponent to have. We've dodged that. This Flusterstorm, I will just use on basically any cantrip just to trade it with something, because I'm not going to probably be able to cast a Flusterstorm while holding up something else. Fuck, that doesn't get Flusterstormed. And we're at more than lethal next turn. I am on 3 mana. I can't cast PO. I am going to concede. So How am I winning? Like, what is my primary plan to win this matchup? Probably Urza's Saga, and most other stuff is a distraction. I just kind of feel like a lot of my cards are bad. Like, I hate PO versus like a Daze and potentially Spell Pierce deck that also is going to have Red Blast and Pyroblast. I don't like 2-for-1ing myself with Force of Will because my blue cards are so good. So if I drop those, I could fill with 1, 2, 3, 4. Change a PO for another mana source. I don't know that I can board out the other 2 POs. Oh god, these Karns are so bad. If I board like this, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Not board in the other 1 ring is probably the answer. I play this as an artifact for Metalcraft. And like it can hit a sideboard counterbalance or something as well. That doesn't feel good. Nothing feels good. I hate it. Otawara, Voltaic Key Pass, turn to Emry. Don't like double Karn. I really like Crucible. Reluctant keep, I think. Like, conceptually, I just prefer a hand that has more land than this. I think the easiest way I lose is to Wasteland. But we'll see how this plays out. So Dragon Rage Channeler is probably the scariest thing that my opponent can do on turn 1, other than just Wasteland me. Delver feels more beatable. But again, I don't have a lot of removal in this deck. I've got like some Brazen Borrowers for bounce. I don't want to draw you. Why I boarded out most of those. Oh god, that was a terrible Emry. It was a terrible Emry. In addition to not hitting a cheap artifact, it also just milled over 3 lands. My opponent has a threat with force backup. I've lost Emry. I need to resolve a Crucible of Worlds and like get access to this stuff that I milled over. Okay, I get to try. I think this is better than playing Karn. Karn would just get dazed. Yep. Stern Dismissal. Is that the bounce? Yeah. Alright, I eat 3 more damage. I'm at 12. I'm kind of getting clocked for 5 per turn cycle. I don't have an ensnaring bridge to find. Like, I barely feel like this Karn is worth playing. It costs me 2 life to cast it. And honestly, my opponent might not even kill it. I'll find the 1 ring and pass. Alright. They are going to kill the Karn. From my perspective, I'm not even sure that it's correct to. Null Rod, shutting off double seat. Cool. I'm going to cast the 1 ring out of spite. Oh no, it can't be activated. Yeah, we're fine skipping it up here, folks. This hand almost works. So I can go Ancient Tomb, Key, Opal. With 1 mana source, I can then cast a PO with Force of Will backup as a draw 3. Alright, let's try it. Like, the hand has a plan. It's an incomplete plan, but like it's a real plan. I would like to give like PO and the Millennium Calendar a chance to do their thing if possible this league. I think the POs are just bad. Like, I think the average CMC of this deck is too high to take advantage of Paradoxical Outcome well. Like with the Karns and the 1 rings. Okay, so my opponent sat there for like 5 minutes making no plays until I poked them. We're playing against Painter. I probably just Force of Will this. They're having disconnection issues. Rough. Okay. So we've got mana to work towards PO. And we'll see where this goes. All right. Fable? Goblin Engineer with some floating mana. All right, they have found a Phyrexian Dragon engine for their graveyard. Don't worry about the red things there. And they've put a Grindstone into play. So, this is going to hurt a bit. 1, 2, 3. Bounce this stuff, and then try to do something cool. Possible I'm supposed to like untap a Mox Opal and leave a blue floating instead of a colorless floating, but I think I just end up replaying keys a lot of the time. I a crazy person. Oh no, I just like redrew stuff that I had before. Okay. Got it. Didn't get another like free card like I was hoping for. So I'm actually in a really bad spot. Brazen Borrower helps a bit. But one of my current issues is that, like, my opponent can, in theory, win the game without casting another spell, which is going to happen. So my opponent can activate Grindstone, target me, and then weld the Grindstone into a painter, and there's just an onboard kill here. Yep. They weld the painter into play. My Force of Will does not interact with this at all. And I am unfortunately dead. If I hit like another Lotus Petal, I'm not dead because I can like Brazen Borrower, bounce the painter out of play, and then be in good shape. Yeah, these POs don't feel that good, right? Like a lot of the Lotus Petal type stuff just disappears. I don't have that many zero cost artifacts. I'm not even maxed out on baubles. Yeah, we're going to talk about a rebuild when we get to the outro. I don't think this league is going to do Millennium Calendar justice because I don't pop off that hard with the blue stuff in the way. All right, so what am I doing for Painter here? Haywire Mite's great, Ottawara is fine, Pithing Needle's good, Soul Guide Lantern's good. Flusterstorm is situationally good, but probably not strong. I'm going to get my POs out of the way. Leaves me super blue light. I might have to play some Force of Negations to have enough blue cards in the deck. That doesn't feel good. All right, Might always in, Needle always in, Lantern always in. Blue count is awful. I'm going to play one Force of Negation, not board the Ottawara. I can play a really strong Urza Saga game here that starts working towards Pithing Needle or Grindstone immediately. I think I'm fine with that. I don't have a blue card to pitch to Force Well, which is already like something that I knew would be a common occurrence. C'est la vie. We'll drop a couple of artifacts, call it a turn. And we are on the beatdown plan. What do you have to counteract what I'm doing, opponent? Just holding up a red blast. That's fine. Expect like some sort of painter baseline to be happening this turn. My opponent didn't have a turn 1 play. Red-white painter confirmed. A Magus of the Moon. I don't have a blue card to Force of Will there. So I make a large construct token, but then I lose my Urza Saga, and I don't get the second token, and I don't get the Pithing Needle. So basically, I'm unhappy, is what I'm getting at here. That's actually a pretty respectable draw, and I get to decide whether or not I want to just crash in with a 6/6 or play the One Ring. I think I want to play the One Ring, despite the fact that it gives up a bunch of my mana and shrinks my construct to the point where it's furiable. All right, opponent's at 14. But I think just with the One Ring and Voltaic Key on board already, it is just correct for me to go in on this stuff. Like the construct is now smaller for, you know, purposes of red removal and whatnot. But working towards Force of Will being on versus something like a painter can be a pretty big deal. Ooh. That stings a little bit. This construct is going to be huge, though. Do this. This is a little awkward in the short term, but I think fine longer term. We've got a 7/7 that will just crash in with, it's a 2-turn clock, and if opponent chump blocks with the Magus in the next turn cycle, I will do some gross things. Also, maybe they can't chump block. Onboard tricks are OP. Raya's Apprentice, very reasonable magic card. Great for chump blockers when combined with Engineer. Alright, I take some damage. Sure. I guess there's no reason I need to actually untap here. Let's just make this unblockable. Yeah, we just know that, like, my opponent can't have some weird interaction spell at instant speed with Trinisphere in play. Yeah, I'm not so much with answers to Magus of the Moon, huh? Alright. I don't really think this hand works. I'm just gonna mulligan this, look for something with some more stable mana. Okay. Urza Saga beatdown dot plan is a go. I think I throw back the One Ring here, despite it being a powerful card. And the plan is Saga into Pithing Needle. What is this? Do you name Saga, or do you name the One Ring? Can I afford to let this resolve? Because if they name Saga, I'm dead in the water with this hand. I think I have to just counter it. Gosh, that feels terrible. That is not what I wanted that Force of Will to do. That Force of Will was my safety net for, like, a Magus of the Moon. Ugh. Alright, we're going to preemptively put this on Grindstone. And since my opponent has shown me Trinisphere, I'm going to play this out ahead of time as well. Alright. Yeah, no, I know. But I think I just have a 50% chance of just instantly losing the game on the spot if I don't Force of Will that Pithing Needle on turn 1. I don't care about Surgical Extraction. I assume my opponent has boarded that in to play around me. Just having an Emrakul or equivalent in my sideboard, which is fair. We can beat Naked Magus of the Moon, but I can't beat Magus of the Moon with something like a Fable of the Mirror Breaker as a follow-up. Like, this 2 damage is nothing. Ugh. Yep. We have 1 basic land in the deck. We do have a decent amount of artifact mana that we can hit to cast the blue spells. The One Ring is still live as a powerful draw. Opponent probably has, like, Pyroblasts and such in hand that they can't reasonably play out as of right now. I think you just play out something like a Fury as a 3/3 double striker if you hit the 5 mana here rather than holding it for something like an Emry. That's even just hard to cast at this point. Yep, that's fine. So we now have to assume that my opponent has, like, counterspells / vindicates on a stick. And I assume my Pithing Needle goes the way of the Dodo in the next couple of turn cycles if I don't do anything too threatening. Sure. Alright. Here we are. This is not exactly a real clock in terms of speed, but I am unable to fight back currently, and so it's good enough. My opponent's flooded out really bad, but I just have nothing going on. Okay. That's a card. I imagine it's getting countered. Nope. I guess my dream is, like, draw the One Ring and pop off. Sure. Man, my opponent flooded so hard. But it might not matter. Can't cast that. Sure. I guess I shouldn't F6. I have a castable spell that could gain me 1 life. Yep. Ooh, I can pitch the Urza Saga. It's currently a blue card. I'm in. Gain a life. It, in theory, could be the difference. That 1 life could be the difference from me, like, living 1 more turn and not. I'm at 2. And we bottom out. That's a brutal loss. All right. So, hand's fine. I think one of my biggest complaints with this deck is, like, this deck is an Urza Saga deck, not a combo deck. Like, there's not a high enough density of things at the bottom of the curve for me to actually feel like a combo deck. And so, like, we're playing an Urza Saga construct deck that can play a combo game if we make it to the mid game. which is a little weird. I have lost my key, which makes my Mox Opals much more awkward. I think how I play out this hand just changed. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I still just need to immediately make Urza Saga construct tokens to pressure a Doomsday baseline. Alright. Yeah, that Voltaic Key was pretty important to the hand. I mean, we could still just like be playing against a Delver deck and we just get wastelanded. Ooh. Imprinting Brainstorm and Pondering to Shuffle. Vibes have shifted a little bit in the direction of like a Storm deck now. In which case I'm thinking less about counterspells now. Aetherflux Reservoir becomes more interesting. Sure. Alright, that doesn't really change lines at all. I always play this. I think I go Grim Monolith, tap Grim Monolith, sorcery speed, make a token, which turns on Metalcraft so that I can Emry. Emry misses. Got it. So I can play Aetherflux Reservoir and gain a little bit of life. Emphasis on a little bit on my next turn. If I suspect that I am playing against a Storm deck, that's a very reasonable direction to go. Feels like Storm, alright. Alright, opponent's going now. Alright, it is Beseech the Mirror combo. My opponent will presumably now get a Guy as well. My opponent just said, that is not a card that I can cast. Where does this go? Put the exiled card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. Okay. So whatever card... I guess they grabbed Adnaz? Okay. That's awkward for them. I think I just make another construct token and try to kill them before they can do the thing. Rather than gain a little bit of life. It's round 5. Round 5. Alright. That means that this is the correct play. Unquestionably the correct play. So, we'll take key. I can play this. Lose a city. Untap a monolith. I could PO. I think that's worse than just playing this. And then we'll play a Mox Opal to just gain some extra life. My opponent has said this is going to be a cool video. I hope so. I hope so. But unfortunately, like my Urza Saga tokens are going to kill you before I can do the thing. And note here, like I'm supposed to just like Pithing Needle and name something like Polluted Delta. Or alternatively, Wishclaw Talisman isn't crazy. Okay. So, Force of Negations. Good. Haywire Might. Fine. Berries. Good enough. Full Guide Lantern. Good. The rest of this stuff is Karn stuff. Pithing Needle can go. I don't get to cut any blue cards. Sad to say that that probably has to go. Like, I just have more important silver bullets for this matchup to hit. My basic island can probably become Otawara. I'm just an awkward control deck here, aren't I? Do I keep the Aetherflux Reservoir? I think no. Like, I think I am just a control deck that wins with Urza Saga. I think that's what we've been the whole league. If I'm being fully honest here. I don't know what to do from here because I feel like I need these cards. Can I cut the POs? 8 cutting blue cards here. Alright, Fairy, Soul Guide Lantern. I don't know that I can find room for this. I conceptually like it to get rid of artifact mana that's played out. And it can disrupt combo turns, but I think I've got to keep a density of core stuff here. I just hope that, like, pile O counter magic plus Karn is good enough. The hand? I don't know that's a good one, but it's a hand. I think I'm going to keep it. I have 2 pieces of free interaction, which is more than I can say about the average hand in this deck. Yeah. So, in my estimation, Emry is actually the best card in my hand, because if my opponent takes Force of Negation, I just play Emry on turn 1, and I still have a piece of free interaction available. So if my opponent can win quickly, it might be worth it to just, like, risk it and take Emry leaving Force of Negation. Since they can just, like, kind of play around it. So let's throw an Emry into play here. Hitting some reasonable cards. Oh, did I board out Aetherflux Reservoir? I did. I can probably just play this out most of the time. The next turn I play a Mox Opal from graveyard, can start working towards the 1 ring, drawing me into more counter spells. We're in okay shape. Alright, opponent's just passing the turn. How do I feel about Seat? Certainly not bad, but I think I just get Urza Saga ticking up. Let's Mox Opal. I want persistent mana here, as I'm about to lose some stuff to Lotus Petal. And I do not believe that I draw immediately, because my opponent is playing a discard deck. And I don't want them the opportunity... I don't want to give them the opportunity to just take out my... like a good card that I draw. Sure. Alright. Okay, cool. Good. I'll draw some stuff. You Bowmastering me? Echoing Truth on the ring. Sure, that's pretty annoying. I don't actually get to draw that card. Sure. I guess I like choose between playing the 1 ring and making giant Urza Saga construct tokens that beat my opponent to death. I think I want to find more interaction. Do I give up Lotus Petal? Do I give up Lotus Petal to live the dream of hitting another 0-cost mana source off that draw? I don't think so. Let's do this. I will take the draw immediately, though, this time. It helps inform me like what I want to do with Emry. The answer is just like play a 0-drop this time and then pass the turn. I hold this other Emry to be a blue card to pitch to a counterspell. Yeah, this is fine. Mana spent not comboing off is like thumbs up for me. Cool. We've made it another turn cycle. I'll lose some life. I'm going to draw my cards first. Use that to help me inform my decision. Not hitting those counter spells. So it goes. Let's Soul Guide Lantern here. Just kind of keep that graveyard double locked down. Remove one of those ponders, I guess. So, Bauble. Petal. Let's see what's coming before I go any further. It is a Misty. That's fine. Let's Voltaic Key. Do I want to play a land? Let's play a City of Traders. I'm going to keep my life total high here. And then we'll use that mana to untap this ring. Just try to get more hits towards something. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's where we're at. We'll just Karn. Or anything nifty left in the sideboard? Not really. I am just going to Karn plus here and call it a turn. So we've got the graveyard covered for things like Beseech. We have artifacts covered for things like Chrome Mox. Otawara's kind of whatever. I will probably kill my opponent in 2 combat steps, if I were to guess. Alright, the opponent's just fetching and passing. Great. So, how big can I make this boy? Like, can I just present lethal this turn by attacking with the 1 ring? Let's find out. I'm going to draw with it first. Dress down. Getting rid of my construct token. Okay. Alright, I have a Force of Will now. That is fantastic. So let's go 2 mana. Voltaic Key. 1 mana. Untap Ring. Play new Urza Saga. Sacrifice a city. 3 mana Brazen Borrower. Holding up Force of Will. Yeah. Let's do some punchies. So I'll attack for 5. Put my opponent to 11. Untap the 1 ring. Play a Mox Opal. Keep this one. Pass the turn. Discard some land. Have the ability to instant speed. Draw a bunch more cards. Should what I have not be enough. LED is fine. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. Sure. A ball ritual. I will deny your mana. You may have 3 mana. That is an ad nause. Force of Will. Pitch Emry. Alright, end of turn, I'll draw some more cards. End of turn, I'll put another threat into play. I'll lose some life. I don't think that's a problem. Can I kill my opponent this turn? 3, 4, 9. Assuming I play another Karn, the answer is yes. So we'll go City, Karn, plus on the 1 ring. 1, 2, 3, 4. Karn. Keep this one. Sorry, I just played one of these Voltaic Keys. Right? It does not say which one is newly controlled. Cool, cool, cool. Plus on this one. Send them. I can't math. 4, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I can't math. Okay. I don't think it matters. Let's just untap that for good measure. And pass the turn. Discard some card. Alright. Draw some more cards. Lose some life. Float some mana. Should have floated more mana, apparently. Keep this Mox Opal. Plus on a Voltaic Key. 4 mana. New Karn. Keep this one. Plus on the 1 ring. More than enough damage here. With multiple counter spells backing it up. Echoing Truth, your LED. I respect it, and we put 2 wins on the board this league. Honestly, not bad. So, I know many of you came here to see the Millennium Calendar. So before we go, I've set up just kind of a random hand where I've started the game with a Millennium Calendar in play, and let's just kind of see how quickly we can actually get this thing to Goldfish. So like, let's say we go seat Millennium Calendar on turn 1, and we tap our land to do that. This is turn 2. We get a counter, and now we just want to play as many things as we can that will untap on our turn. And we can start doubling these counters. I guess I could do it immediately. Sure. So let's double the counters, shall we? This is our effective turn 3. We are up to 6 of these. We can double, make another land drop, pretend our life total doesn't matter. This is our turn 4. We're up to 16. We don't have any keys yet to like start popping off. Oh, I guess I can just use this, right? I think this is what, my turn 4. All right, so it's X minus 1 turns. Got it. Sure. All right, bam. Guess tap both these. No keys. Millennium Calendar. Up to 38. All right. 1 ring. Draw some cards. Never find keys. Sadness. Double from 38 at 76. Playing the extra lands doesn't really matter here. Tap that. So we get some counters. We're up to 84. We draw some cards. There are no keys in this deck. Double these to 168. Make a land drop. Tap a bunch of permanents. Yes, attack with my Emry. Hurt myself more. I don't know that I can race my One Ring. Alright. Draw. Okay, there we go. So, I play Voltaic Key. Take 2. Double the counters on this. 352. Untap. Double the counters on that. 704. Go to upkeep. Oh, sorry. Discard some cards. Place some counters on this. 712. Double. There's my 1,000 or more. And that's what it would take. So that was 8 turns of funneling all of my resources into the Millennium Calendar before it popped off and did its thing. And I would say this is a little bit below average because we didn't have a key or a One Ring for quite some time. But if like that is the ideal timeline for getting the Millennium Calendar to pop off, it's probably not going to be fast enough for Legacy standards. But let's say you've watched this video and you're a sicko who wants to try to make it work. I think you need to move more in this like Mystic Forge direction and remove the blue cards from your deck so that you can just vomit more cards into play. And like the deck might even just like need baubles as well to help with Metalcraft and just lowering the curve more. Because the deck that we played today, and let's just move this out of the way for a second. The deck that we played today won basically all of its games off of Urza Saga. I think I cast a PO once where I drew 3 cards and I couldn't even deploy all of the cards that were in my hand afterwards, like including just the 1-drops that I bounced back. I think the blue was a mistake in this deck. It's not like this felt like a terrible deck or anything, but without like the ponders and brainstorms padding the blue count in this deck, the force of will count is going to be a little low. And the PO was something I wanted to board out every time. And like, if a lot of times I start by wanting to board out PO and Fluster, that means these forces are either pitching one of my better early plays or are often going to just be stuck in my hand. I don't think there were enough keys in this deck. Like, that's something that I saw with that goldfish at the end there. Like, if I am fishing for a key to do the most broken things I can do with Grim Monolith, I think you need more of those. So essentially, I need to face this way, camera. I need to shove my curve this way. I want more 0 and 1-drops. I want more keys. Because I did not feel like a combo deck in this league. I felt like an Urza Saga deck that got to back Urza Saga with counterspells. And that was fine, but that's not really what I think Max set out to do in sending me this deck list. So I hope that gives all you brewers out there some food for thought if you want to mess around with a Millennium Calendar. If you get a win with Millennium Calendar in Legacy, tag me on Twitter or wherever. I want to see that. And if you end up wanting to try this deck out, or you need to buy any cards for it in paper, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.